Sontaha, 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 Sontaha. Good evening, Doctor Who fans, wherever you are in the world. We are here. It's the Who Corner to Corner podcast. My name is Paul. I'm with my good friend Geoff, and this week we are also joined by my 14-year-old daughter, Freya. Say hi.
Hello.
I said say hi. She says hello. She can never take simple instructions. That's the problem with the youth of today. They just don't know how to take an simple instruction from a grown-up and responsible adult. That's me, by the way.
You could argue that it was poor direction from you.
Yeah, well, I'm not a director. That's your bag, my friend, Mr. Film Director Geoff.
Let's see if I can make it work. Freya, say hello to the audience.
Hello.
The correct answer would have been hello to the audience.
Hello to the audience. Can't believe you didn't know that. But anyway, we're all bright and chipper today, which is surprising given that it's 9:15. But I think, certainly for me, mate, I'm very excited. I've just watched episode 3, chapter 3 of Doctor Who Flux.
Have you managed
I've
that?
just watched chapter 2 of Doctor Who Flux.
I know the next one is...
You're so old, your memory's not even working.
I can't even remember what chapter it was. I can't even count these days. I mess up all the time. It's a prerequisite.
Chapter 4 is Village of Angels.
Is it chapter 4? Oh,
chapter 3 is Once Upon a Time. See?
So what is that one even about? Chapter 3, once, upon time. There's a pause there, right? That's got to be. It's got to mean something.
I mean, there was an angel. I'm going to give you a little point because there was an angel in the trailer thing at the end of last episode. There was an angel.
She's right.
So we can't be too mean on him.
No, we can be, but we shouldn't.
You often are, both of you.
Yeah. But did you notice that the planet where the Temple of Atropos was called Time?
Temple of Atropos.
Atropos. And it was on the planet Time.
Yeah.
I mean, Once Upon Time.
And
also
upon time.
What's his name? Blasted Yaz. And it's like she's gonna see all of time.
Swarm.
Oh, he's good.
He's very good.
Well, he's evil, but he's so good.
Oh, now there are 3 of them. We got Swarm. We got Azure. Who's the new guy? Passenger. Was that what he was called?
Do you remember when he was seen?
Very much.
He was seen filming in Liverpool last year.
Was he?
Like the steps or something. So obviously he must go back. Forward, maybe to.
He's got more to do.
Mate,
I tell you what, this is turning out to be an absolutely epic story. I mean, there are so many puzzles going on right now. There are so many intriguing things. There's so many exciting things. I mean, this one here, we've got, I don't know how many storylines. 1, 2, 3, 4 storylines. I mean, we've got at least the Crimean thing, which that's the main crux of this particular story. The Sontarans,
so that kind of worked.
The Flux, right?
It was almost like just episode of the week sort of thing, but it's obviously got threads that are going to carry on. The Sontaran said, I'll see you again, and the Doctor said that to Mary Seacole. So it's hard to imagine that's just it. That they're not going to be reappearing somehow. You've got that weird black and white vision that the Doctor had of that sort of twisted house floating above a lake or something.
Something to say about that.
So, and that looked amazing. The TARDIS is obviously going a bit wonky, and that's something to do with time running wild, I guess. You got that. You got Yaz now with her new face tattoo. You got Vinda, who's disgraced.
She pretty cool, though, didn't she?
She looked cool.
Yeah, looked a bit like Lexa from The 100. If you've watched that, when she used to have.
I haven't seen that one.
She used to have stuff on her eyes.
Did she? Thanks for pointing that out, Geoff.
Just kind of black, war paint sort of thing. And there's obviously things going on in present day, with the Sontarans having taken everything over, but at multiple points in time at the same time.
Exactly. I mean, that's a lot of stuff going on, and this is what Chris Chibnall is really good at. It's what he did 3 times in Broadchurch, spinning lots of different stories at different lengths, having them all interconnect in some way, and you just can't see it from the very first episode or the first few episodes, and you don't know who done it in Broadchurch, really, until the very last chapter in the whole thing. It's really quite something, and I'm so pleased he's bringing that sensibility to Doctor Who, because it gives the show a brand new kind of energy, a real vigor, and it just makes it absolutely unmissable. And we're only on chapter 2.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, there's so much. I've seen on Twitter someone has gone through all the trailers that have been released so far and kind of collated all the shots together, and there's maybe 2 that don't appear to be from the first 3 episodes. So we don't know literally half of what's going on.
He's not giving much away, is he?
No.
Cards to his chest. One thing Chibs has always been good at, again, some people haven't liked that, the fact he doesn't give anything away. We want spoilers and things. I mean, I don't personally, as I've made it clear on that before, but it's so good to see something where we just don't know what's going to happen.
No. Yeah, it makes such a big difference. Imagine going into this all knowing, oh, well, I know what Swarm's end goal is, or I know what the connection is with him and the Doctor. It just kind of takes away all the fun of it. I tweeted earlier that I wish I could upload Flux into my head now.
I saw that, yeah.
And know all of it, because I'm impatient to know, and I want to know all the secrets. But at the same time, realistically, I like this weekly, watching and revealing of everything. I don't kind of want to blow it all in one go, really, but it's that there's so much to it that I kind of want to know it now, but obviously I'm going to have to wait for it.
What about you, Freya? Are you impatient to know what happens next?
No.
You can just take it in your stride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's a series, so you have 1 episode a week. That's just how it works.
That is how it works. You do watch quite a bit of serialised telly, don't you?
I watch a lot of telly. I do watch a lot of telly.
Well, I mean, when Paul and I were younger, you had no option to binge it all or stream it all in one hit and get a show dropping in one go on a night, and I think some people have become so kind of accustomed to that, or to maybe don't even know any different, that I think the kind of waiting weekly thing is really how TV should be.
It used to be back in the day, Geoff.
It did. Yeah. We had 4 channels.
4 channels. Oh, yeah. Even that wasn't until I was in my teens. It was 3 until then, to be honest with you. But I remember, I'm going to tell you a little story now, which is going to embarrass Freya totally, because I remember when she was very small and she was watching TV, because you grew up with, it was like video on demand, didn't you? The idea of TV as broadcast, right, was completely alien to her. There was a point when she said, I can't remember what you wanted to watch. It was, I don't know, Peppa Pig or something. Well, it wasn't even Peppa Pig. It was something. And we couldn't watch it because there was no other episode other than the ones you'd already watched. And she says, yeah, but I want to watch the next episode. No, Freya, it's not on yet. It hasn't been released onto the telly. It hasn't been put on the telly. Well, why not? Because it just hasn't. They haven't made it yet. But I want to watch it. Yes, but you can't because it's not there. It was a circular argument.
I remember once when we went to Granny Toad's house, something. I wanted to pause the TV. Their TV doesn't pause.
TV didn't pause.
It doesn't.
Someone in remote control saying, "Where's the pause button?"
Yeah, and I was so confused why it didn't pause. I just didn't understand that TV didn't pause.
Yeah,
and I was like, what?
It's a different sensibility,
I want to go get a drink.
It makes things much more immediate, this whole idea of having things on demand now, which we're all getting used to. Even I'm getting used to it now. You stick on Disney Plus, you expect almost the whole series. But then actually I say that, it seems to be that there is a trend where big event TV is going back towards the weekly format. So a lot of the Disney shows, the Marvel shows, Star Wars, all those sort of things are going back to this. Yes, we could show them all.
A week.
But it's 1 a week.
But I was going to say that because they deliberately did that to create the kind of, what you call it, water cooler buzz about things, so that everyone's at the same page of the book. But also there's the other thing of that it causes you to your subscription to last longer. You can't sign up for a week, watch it all, and then unsubscribe again. So there's that, but also that making it an event, making it something that you sit down to watch, and you're all there doing it at roughly the same time. I think it's good. I think it's really brought people together, and it's given things to talk about. I hope they.
And it's like no one can be more ahead than somebody else.
Yeah.
Nobody could have watched the next episode because it hasn't been released. Nobody knows.
They
Apart
haven't
from like the
made it
actors,
yet.
obviously, but you know.
Yes, they know.
They sworn to secrecy on pain of death, I think, aren't they?
Yeah.
We will kill you if you tell anybody.
I was really impressed by tonight. I didn't think it was quite as kind of spectacular as the first episode. But I don't think
that was.
But we are properly starting the story now.
Yes, we are, and we've been hooked and drawn in. I say it wasn't quite spectacular. That's not entirely true. There wasn't as many, kind of plot threads going on. But what we did have, like the battle shots and all the shots of Sontaran ships in the docks and stuff. That was some proper epic stuff, and some really good CGI. And also, this is a bit
absolutely
nerdy, but all the bits when like the Doctor and Mary Seacole are running. And they're in, on the moors and whatnot, and you've got the ships in the background. That's quite tricky effects to do because you've got to cut around all the people, put the stuff in, track it to move realistically with the camera and depth, and all of that. And there was a lot of that, and I actually think
huge amount of that.
Huge amount, and that's actually quite a bit more impressive than just a big kind of semi-static, CG shot, and it was all integrated brilliantly and looked really good as well.
So you didn't know with the
the
bit about when Dan's climbing
the thingy.
That was a great
there's
shot.
A giant Sontaran ship behind it. Now
and there's so many behind it as well.
Yeah, and that wasn't a static shot. If I remember, the camera sort of moved around in an arc.
It was a great big
and that
aerial shot.
Sontaran ship behind it just looked absolutely.
Well, it slowly revealed.
It was there,
Yeah, it slowly revealed the ship and then pulled out to reveal more of them.
Yeah.
And the music was really, felt, really suited to that at the moment. That moment, it was a really epic shot. Yeah, really good.
I think this is a thing now. I know we mentioned it slightly on our previous podcast, but the level of cinematic effects that we're seeing in Doctor Who now, we have to remember this is not something that's made by Disney Channel or Netflix. No. The BBC is not one of those top 5 companies in the world. It's a big company, but it doesn't rake in anything like the likes of Disney Plus as a company. It's not even it is a fraction of it, but it's a small fraction. It does not do that sort of thing. But I think the company they use, DNEG, right?
Yes,
they're also a really big house because they do supply special SFX CGI stuff to the likes of Marvel and a whole bunch of other. I can only think of Marvel because I've been Marvel obsessed for the last few months. But I know there's a lot of them, right? They do a lot of stuff. These guys, they are so good at what they do, and I don't know if they get paid as much by the BBC as they do with some of these other big studios, but what they're pulling off for this tiny little TV show is nothing short of impressive.
I mean, that aerial shot flying in on the battlefield where both sides were charging at each other.
You've got the little figures running at each other, right?
But it it looked brilliant. It was really well done, and also I think it's worth noting that you can't tell that this was shot during COVID and that there's restrictions. So the show has always had, there's only 6 Sontarans, so it's the same guys, just in, but it's done very cleverly, like the battle scenes. It was only a fairly short bit, but you saw the Sontarans massacring them and everything, and it was really nicely shot to not kind of show there's only about 12 people here, and they can't get near each other and all this kind of stuff. But there's clever things like they're inside the Sontaran ship and the Doctor's talking to Dan and stuff, and it's obviously the same set, just slightly dressed differently and lit. But and they've obviously had to do things like that. And there was talk online of some actors playing 2 parts, like the woman who was in the Arctic Circle,
multi-role.
Yeah, and she's playing Azure. Well, there's obviously kind of protocol reasons for stuff like that, but I actually think it's worked in their advantage to
I think so. Yeah,
it's
kept it tight, I think.
Yes, it has. Yeah, but yeah, the show feels more epic than ever. Bearing in mind, like you say, its budget limitations and also the practical production limitations they've been facing.
Yeah, it's nothing short of spectacular.
Yeah, hats off to them. They've done an incredible job, and we're only on episode 2.
absolutely. But I think kudos also to the storytelling in this. You know, it's I think I've probably said it already that you know Chris Chibnall rather writing all this stuff. You know, handling these these multiple narratives and spinning them through. You know, this 6-part story. It's yeah. So far, again, episode 2. Nothing short of incredible so far. So I'm really looking forward to where
I
it's going to go.
wonder, and I wonder whether this will come out, you know, later on. So obviously they were planning, you know, 10, 11 episodes, and then COVID and everything, and they had to kind of restructure everything. So I wonder if they had, and we might have talked about this before, but I wonder if they had 10 episodes with popping up throughout, and like you know, the Mary Seacole episode and and then they've had to kind of dump a lot of it and compress and expand, you know, multiple plots into the 6 episodes,
and then some of the filler and just concentrate on your one big story.
And some people talk on, you know, say online that they don't like filler episodes in Doctor Who. You know, they like the arcs, which is fine. But I wouldn't say that the show has ever been massively arc heavy until recent years.
Until now, really.
You know, people say, oh, you know, Bad Wolf. Bad Wolf was graffiti on the walls. That's not really an art, you know. Sorry, but you know, it's you know, I'm a bit kind of dumbfounded by the idea of filler episodes in it because it's always been a kind of predominantly standalone show, you know, Monster of the Week type.
It has, yeah. I mean, obviously in the old series there was the Key to Time season, wasn't there, where they attempted to not even, but even then that wasn't really. I mean, it was an arc, but it was reasonably loose. The only conceit was that in each story they had to find a segment of the Key to Time, and in the final story they all came. You know, they put the Keys to Time back together, and there was a bit of an epic showdown, which actually probably wasn't that epic, to be honest. But it was
at the time, it probably
even that, which is, you know, a loosely bound story arc through 6 stories. You know, reading the interviews of the producers, the writers and directors, the actors at the time, they all found it really stressful to manage. I think was it Tony Reid, who was the script editor at the time, said, "Well, I'm not doing that again." You know, too much. It was like, you know, because if you make a bunch of stories in a certain order, they've got to be transmitted in that order. And sometimes with Doctor Who, things, you know, stories have been swapped around in the season.
They are, aren't they? Yeah.
You know, planned episode 4 because of actors' availability, crew availability, location availability, or budget constraints, studio time, whatever it is, suddenly can't be shot on that time, so it has to be shifted back in the schedule. As soon as you commit to an arc-heavy season, you've got to hit those schedules.
I think that
randomly.
I think she's going to pick up these.
So you're right. So going back to what you were saying, Geoff, to do that with COVID restrictions and all the other problems, you know, which TV generally faces these days, it's really a brave thing to do, and with such a high profile show as well. You know,
people have moaned, "Oh, it's only 6 episodes." Well, yeah, okay, fine, but you know what? We could just simply.
We'd all love more episodes. I would love Doctor Who to go on all year round, frankly. But then, you know, it wouldn't be special, would it?
No.
And you know, I'd rather they had pulled off this 6 that were awesome, rather than not having bothered, or B, tried to do 10, and you know, we just ended up with people sitting around in the TARDIS talking for 45 minutes, which, you know, could be interesting. I think they could do it, but you know. So anyway, I think, you know, absolutely incredible work that they've pulled off in every area on all of this. So what do you think was the Doctor's vision at the beginning? And they obviously got out of the flux hitting them somehow, didn't they?
They did. We don't quite know how that cliffhanger was really resolved. It just kind of, they all just sort of woke up on the battlefield, didn't they?
Yeah.
That was it. But I don't know. Yeah,
there was some mention.
It's intriguing. There were quite a few visions, wasn't there? It's they're all jigs. It's like I think they're like. I'm not going to say my theory yet. Almost. I'm going to say in a bit, right? But there's it's like a jigsaw puzzle. when you take certain pieces out and you'll fix on certain patterns and things, and maybe the bits at the corners, some bits at the edge, you see a face in there so you can put the eyes and things together, but it doesn't mean anything until you can start to see more of the context. And what we don't have at the moment is that full picture. We don't have that context, but it does lead to some really wacky theories and ideas. I mean, I shall I mention my thing? I did, didn't I?
You should say your theory.
I tweet. Well, it wasn't so much a theory; it was just a vibe I was getting. So the shot of that wacky house in the woods, right? That the doctor, it was not a house in the woods, but that really creepy house where it's all kind of crumpled in on itself and falling to pieces, and all different dimensions, like the Isha thing, like with the TARDIS doors in different places, and that started me thinking about it as well, actually, last week. But it did it struck me as a bit like the house from Lungbarrow, the New Adventures novel. Now, it's not quite that, but Lungbarrow is a really weird place, the Doctor's ancestral home. And it goes on for miles. It's probably more like Gormenghast, but the dimensions, like the TARDIS, seem to shift and change. The house is alive. It's that sort of living, that sort of sentient Time Lord technology from the Dark Ages. And clearly there is a link to something way back in the past. The whole Swarm and Azure thing.
Yeah.
They've known the Doctor for a long time. Old enemies. We're doing this dance again, you and I. This old battle is repeating, duel that we have. We're doing it again. We're doing the dance again, and it's just, oh my goodness. I mean, one of the things I did like about Lungbarrow and all of that Andrew Cartmel type, Mark Platt sort of Ben Aranovich kind of era was, these little. The whole idea of Gallifrey's dark and distant past, which does seem to resonate somehow with the whole Timeless Child thing. Not in the same way; it's a parallel thing, but it brings those feelings back to the surface.
Yes, it's a similar theme to the master plan. The Cartmel master plan that never really happened, isn't it?
That's it.
But like you say, it's not the same thing, but it's there's a similarity in a way,
A similarity, definitely. What about you? What do you think of it, Geoff?
What of the house?
Well, all of that stuff, all the weirdy bits.
Yeah,
I think it's. Have you got any early ideas? Any early theories?
No, not really. Actually, no.
Not enough of the jigsaw puzzle yet.
No, because I wasn't sure whether the house was actually something there, or whether it was like a dream type thing, or like a visualization, a representation of something. So I'm not sure whether
symbolic, or it could be an old memory, or it could be the Doctor's memory, could be somebody else's memory being fired at her. Even
I only finished watching it about 25 minutes ago. So no, I haven't got anything on that yet, but that is quite interesting because we obviously know about Lungbarrow. I haven't read it, but I know a bit about it. But the general audience wouldn't know anything about it. But it didn't stop Chibnall with the Mobius Doctors, did it?
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. Exactly that.
Yeah, maybe he will go there.
He will. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Chibnall's been a fan of Doctor Who since he was born, pretty much. He's one of us who's become a very respected TV writer of quality, drama. And what I think the other thing that I like about his stuff, actually, I'll just probably as an aside, is that he tends to. His villains are really nasty.
Yeah.
Right from even Solomon in Dinosaurs and Spaceship.
Yeah, he was a
David Bradley
guy.
Yeah, he was a horrible person. We do get some nasty villains in Doctor Who. We've had plenty over the years, but I think Chibnall's villains have been real horrific pieces of work.
Yeah, and
nasty people who represent the worst of all of us.
And one of the things I like about them, so like Tim Shaw, for example, it was kind of verbal and mental, kind of quote unquote violence in a way, because there was no fighting or anything like that particularly. Do you know what I mean? It was all kind of being cruel to people and horrible to them, which I think is quite a bit more interesting than just going around and blasting holes in people or whatever. And the thought of the Stenza, this race that were just kind of going around, destroying planets and testing weaponry and being effectively gigantic, horrible bullies to people was really interesting. So I kind of hoped they'd come back and be a bit of a, recurring villain. But
yeah, I was kind of hoping that we'd see more of them, but we haven't yet. We seem to be getting quite a few older or more recognised Doctor Who villains. We've got the new people, the Swarm, Azure, and now this Passenger we've got.
And they carry on the same trend, like you're saying about Chibnall's villains. They're both. We talked a bit about it last week, but they are simultaneously horrible and cruel, but like ludicrously kind of flamboyant. Like look at the way Swarm stand.
They're kind of glam rock, aren't they?
They are. Yeah, and there was a shot where they were looking at Azure and Swarm was standing against a pillar in the background, and he had his arms on it,
lounging.
He's just kind of lounging on it with his great big shoulder pads on, and they used to get villains a bit like that in Buffy and Angel. They'd be horrible and they'd go and murder people, and then they'd be like, we need to clean the walls, this blood will not do, and then they'd kind of be not humanized kind of thing, but they do something that would make you chuckle and kind of think, oh yeah, I shouldn't, but I kind of like it.
Yeah, right. Having a bit of fun with it, aren't they?
Yeah, and so they become more three-dimensional than just
definitely
we want to kill you, and like we don't know what Swarm and Azure's, what the plan is, what the
no, but it's intriguing,
what the history is, and all of that, and so. I want to talk about the Sontarans in a minute, but
yes,
should we talk about that cliffhanger ending, or should we get to that in a minute?
Let's get to that in a minute. Let's do Sontarans. I'm kind of itching to find out what Freya thinks about Sontarans.
Okay. Yeah, Freya, you tell us what you thought of them tonight.
Potatoes.
Potato. There you go. It's potatoes. That's
it. So I thought that there was some great visuals, and I'll tell you, there was one shot that I really liked where the Doctor and the lead Sontaran were standing opposite each other on the battlefield.
Oh,
and it was
that was
a bit
beautiful.
like Endgame with Cap and Thanos.
That's what I thought. Yes, I thought exactly that. With
must have been
a kind of lighting setup.
Yeah, must have been a homage to it. But when you first saw the Sontaran that was Captive by Mary Seacole, I wonder if that was Dan Starkey's one. I didn't look to see who played what, but I like the idea that he was captured and he was a little bit comical, and I thought, I wonder if they're going to go down the old Moffat route again with them. And I enjoyed that.
It was getting close to that, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. But then when the main one turned up, and then he just shot the comical one, and that was it done. And I thought they were probably the most fearsome and warlike, that they've been in a long, long time, and you really got to see them kind of enjoying the battle and just, casually shooting people. And so that side of things, I thought they were brilliant. And I really loved Dan. He's running, holding his wok up in the air.
I know. That's so funny.
And then he hit him on the back of the neck. They're obviously not that smart either, because the Doctor, very kind of cleverly deceived him, and then Dan said, "Oh look, there's your leader," and he turned around and he bashed him in there. What did he made?
Bashed him on the back of the neck.
Yeah, and then he made some joke about having a wok, and I thought, it was such a bad joke, but it was played brilliantly, and it was.
He said, because he said something a bit later on, when the Doctor and him met up over the vid screens in the Sontaran ships they were in, and they were trying to tell each other what was going on. They did that brilliant thing where they were talking over each other, saying exactly the same words. But then Dan said something about it's been taken over by these Sontaran fellas, and they're obsessed with Japanese food. It's tempura this and tempura that. And she's
like, could be saying tempura.
Yeah, that would make more sense. Yeah. Now, I really like Dan because, and also I loved a bit of his mum and dad. When
it was good.
The dad was like, this was my idea, and the mum's like, that was my idea.
It was my idea.
Yeah, I thought
it was like this.
Gave a nice, it fleshed him out a bit more, and
very much so.
He just charged into things, wanting to go and kind of try to recce everything for the Doctor and find out what was going on, and he lost his house and everything, but maybe that's.
I thought he was going to pull it out of his pocket at one point again, because I know he was giving it, wasn't he?
I did too, yeah. But then the Sontarans turned up, so he didn't get the chance to. And I quite like that the hole was still in the wall of his next door neighbour's toilet.
Yeah, still in the toilet with the light on.
Yeah. So your Dan has, he's slotted in, brilliantly already, and I really like him. He's he's kind of enjoying it, and quite gung ho, but he's quite kind and pleasant guy, and he's got a nice sense of humour, more so than probably any other sort of companion. I mean, Graham had some good laughs and stuff, but Dan's got more, and obviously John Bishop being a comedian kind of lends itself to that. But he's obviously I think he's really good. I like him. What do you think of Yaz's stuff this time?
What do you reckon? Yaz's storyline, you mean? Yeah, whenever she gets separated from the Doctor, whipped into some other place by some spooky kind of means, it's almost a heartbreaking thing. There was that moment in Spyfall when she got zapped out by the Kardashians and thrown into this other dimension, and then of course the same thing happens at the start of this one. Dan fades away, then Yaz fades away. Dan goes back home. That's fine.
That was a nice way of separating them.
But Yaz is in a completely different place, and I love the bit. Where is it? She had it. She finds herself in this strange kind of citadel, like temple sort of thing, and But this is Yaz now, an experienced hand at traveling with the Doctor, she's still Yaz, but she's different to when we first met. She's more confident, she's more direct, she's more. What was it she had written on her hand?
What would the Doctor do?
Yeah,
she had WWTDD, and I literally went, as soon as I saw it, I was like, "What would the Doctor do?"
She said that straight away.
Well, yeah, I saw that, because it could have been, what would Tyler Durden do? Which is a bit of a Fight Club one, But that was, you probably would write that on your hand at school or college or something.
What would the Doctor do? If you're just confused, if you just think about something, if I don't know what to do, look at your hand, little thing there. What would the Doctor do?
Yeah.
Right, pick yourself up, go forward, act like you own the place, be confident, face the monsters down.
Yeah. And it was, I really liked it. And she's definitely in a different place now, and obviously adventures have happened off screen, but it doesn't matter that we haven't seen that development to this point. What we get now is a stronger, more confident version of her, and she's going to move forward with all of that. So I like her as well. It's good putting them in their own situations. It's challenged them, and they've confronted danger a bit, like with the Ghost Monument in Series 11, where the fam's first adventure is getting thrown onto a terrible, threatening planet and a race and everything. Straight into the
they don't really have much pause for breath, do they?
No,
they don't really know each other and what have you first.
No, they got to trust the Doctor and work together. So, what did you think of the cliffhanger?
Did you want to poke on with something?
Even when Yaz gives her introduction to Vinda, it feels very natural what she says.
Yes.
And she's just like saying, like, "Oh yeah, okay, if we're going formal and from Earth," and it's like she just like, because she's been on so many adventures with just the Doctor, she's almost like she's used to a lot of different stuff. And I can't remember, what did she say? She goes, "I really need to start bringing something." I can't remember. What was it?
I can't remember that now.
She goes to the place. And
Vinda seems to think that she owns
thing.
it or something, isn't it? Like she's the authority in the place. Like and she tries to kind of blag it. It seems like to try and blag it like that for a while, and then sort of gives up and says, "Actually, I'm kind of new here as well. I just got here from Earth and what have you." Was that the bit you meant?
No, she wanted like a universal sat nav or something, didn't she?
That was it.
Something like that.
She goes, "I should really start bringing that around more."
Yeah, and also when Swarm turned up, she wasn't externally scared either. She kind of held her own against him quite well. He's fearsome, and so
it's like she knows how to like handle the dangerous situations.
Yeah, which the police training would help with as well. So I think she's having a lot to do this series so far.
It's good to see.
So the cliffhanger then, little bit Thanos with his
reference to more Marvel stuff.
Yeah.
Right, talk us through it then, Geoff.
Well, to the Doctor and Dan turn up, don't they? And Swarm and Azure have replaced the damaged.
Yeah.
I can't remember what they called them, but
Hold on. They are called, because I tweeted them. They are called not Moomins. They are called
Mangers,
not men. The Murray.
the Murray. Yeah. So
Murray.
they've obviously got a plan with Temple and the Murray and the
Yeah, you
fact
mean
that
Swarm Azure and whatever the other
yeah,
they've
and
passenger. They've got something planned for that.
yeah. Did you notice that they when he said to Vinda and Yaz, take 5 steps to your left and got them to walk into the space, so they activated it
Yeah.
because they couldn't do that. It had
Yeah.
been temporarily locked against them because they walked right through it
Temporary.
earlier and nothing happened. So he's replaced those 2 broken ones, repaired it with Yaz and Vinda, and then he's going to put the full force of essentially time into them, and
See
start
how
it
long
again.
it takes them to die.
Yeah, yeah. So that
How much
planet
so.
is interesting because
Yeah.
he said, it's it kind of controls time in some way, and it's all running wild now. So I wonder if there's going to be some connection with that planet to the Shobogans / Time Lords and time travel and all of
I'd be
that.
surprised if there isn't, Geoff. I
Mm.
tell you what. Do you know what else I thought? I mean, there's so much to unpack in this one little story. On the one hand, you got this very relatively straightforward Crimean War.
Yeah.
Humans versus Sontarans, humans getting massacred,
So
kind of thing. But the other stuff in between all that, there are still so many questions. And this idea of time being like a dangerous force that needs to be kept in check. I was getting Sapphire and Steel vibes through that. Completely, because I again, that's another thing that used to freak me out when I was younger, and I still love it, and it still freaks me out. If there's any Sapphire and Steel fans out there, raise your hands, let us know, because I love you all. Anyone who's watched it would know that is a show that is just, it's never been beaten, in my opinion. It was just astonishingly weird, creepy, intriguing, curious, imaginative, and no answers. And those elements within the temple almost pointed towards that. I mean, there was a statement in there where I think it was Swarm said, or it might, well, the other is one of them anyway, who said the Mori is sort of, they're quantum locked.
Mm.
Now that's a description used for the weeping angels.
Yeah.
So I thought, maybe the Mori guys are like pre-weeping angels.
Yeah, because you've never seen an actual,
or maybe they're related to them in some
yes,
way, or maybe they're from the same continuum or
species,
something.
yeah.
There's some sort of connection, because obviously we've had angels in chapter 1.
Yeah.
We've had glimpses of angels in this one, and obviously the trailer for next week's shows a bit of an angel as well. So,
and then chapter 4.
Yeah, obviously
Village
chapter
of
4.
the Angels,
That's it. So they must be key. And if we are talking about time, then the angels are pretty au fait with time, aren't they? It's kind of like their thing. It's what they do. It's what they manipulate. They weaponize it, right? That's what the angels do. They weaponize time. So obviously it is something in this particular story that can be used in that way.
I wonder if it's the planet where they come from.
Exactly that. There you go.
Could be.
Yeah.
We've never seen an angel.
Or maybe they made them. Maybe the Mori.
That's their weapon.
Yeah, that's it. They're like a weapon somehow. And because time is all kind of in flux. There you go. Time is all in flux, right? It's all changing. And, you see? There you go. Then it's prime stuff for the angels to take advantage of. I mean, if the brutish, militaristic, not very intelligent Sontarans can take advantage of this whole disruption in time, and what the hell can the weeping angels do with it? Where it's in their nature.
Yeah. And you've never seen an angel in its true form. It's a bit like a boggart in Harry Potter.
There you go. Exactly that. Yeah. So maybe these guys, maybe they're the template for the angels, or in some way. It's all very intriguing. It just makes me want to tune in and count down the days until the next episode, which is not something I felt for a TV show for a long time. A long time.
Except WandaVision. And Series 12.
He loves WandaVision.
And
He loves mad WandaVision. You like WandaVision, do you?
Good. So we've got some readers, some listeners' comments. But before that, I just want to say that Carvanista is an absolute legend.
Oh, totally. We only talked about it. It's just brilliant. He arrived in at just the right time to rescue his human, didn't he? You know,
Blasted
Still got a human.
yeah, I mean, fair play to Dan getting himself into that Sontaran ship. When you compare Dan's adventure in the Sontaran ship to Donna Noble's adventure quite a lot of seasons
long
back
time ago now, yeah.
I mean, it's quite early days for her, wasn't it? But it's early days for Dan as well.
Yeah.
You know, what I liked about the Donna Noble episode was that you felt the fear that she felt that she was going in a strange alien place. With Dan, he didn't feel any of that fear.
No.
He just wanted to get to the heart of it and get through it. But you're still rooting for him, and he's still waiting for that moment when he's going to be discovered. And it happens, and he quite cleverly, I say cleverly, very simply, knocks out a Sontaran on his probing vent. Hey, don't you get all technical with me. Thinks he's got the hang of it, turns round, and then there's the army of them.
Yeah.
And then it looks like that's it. His number's up now. They're about to execute him. In comes a man's best friend.
Yeah.
Dog.
Their relationship is so good. They he has to protect Dan somewhat begrudgingly, but also you can tell
totally begrudgingly. I won't ever see you again. I don't see you again either.
Yeah, and
they're going to be best mates, aren't they? By the time of the end of the series,
yeah,
one of them's going to have to. Yeah, Dan's going to have to rescue Carvanista, I think.
Yeah. There's obviously going to be a really nice arc there with them, I think. But he's brilliant. You know, the when they jump down the thing and Dan's going wah, and then it cut to Carvanista and he's going wee.
Yeah. And they get out and Dan's like, what was that thing we went down? And he's like, it was the toilet tube or something? The waste tube. You could have warned me. And then Carvanista kind of shakes himself off.
Yeah. I was going to say Dan got soaked again at that bit.
Yeah, it's
so
good fun. That
we've got a few comments. Do you want to read them through, Paul?
I can do. Yes, indeed. So we had quite a good response to this one actually.
Yeah.
There's quite a few on the page. So let me just get into them there. So we wanted to know people's thoughts on War of the Sontarans. So what did we get? What did you make? Let's have a look here. Let's have a look. So we got Blinovich Limitation Geoff Effects, our good friend Geoff, who said, I've said endlessly that this era hits the notes that resonate with my classic era upbringing and tastes. Tonight felt like it hit peak perfection, artistically, thematically, pure Doctor Who through and through. Jodie owns the part. Yaz and Dan delight me. Yeah, I love this. He says.
Good man.
Indeed. Oliver Street 76 says 10 out of 10 from me. It had it all. Brilliant humor, great dialogue, Jodie and the cast at their best, and amazing villains who left us on a great cliffhanger. Can't wait for next week's. Aidan at Aidan CG01 says, I absolutely loved, capital letters, War of the Sontarans. I've wanted the Sontarans to return as a full force army for a while, and it didn't disappoint. Jodie was great. The Sontarans were great, and Swarm and Azure were great. The episode had a great cliffhanger, brackets, poor Yaz, sad face. I'll tell you what, Aidan's point there about the Sontarans is absolutely right, actually. I mean, I was obsessed with Sontarans when I was a kid. You know,
really?
as we said in this podcast, growing up in the 70s, you know, I didn't see much Sontarans. All I could remember of Sontarans were very vague memories from when I was very, very small. Sontaran Experiment and the Invasion of Time. We didn't see them again until midway through the 80s with the two Doctors. Yeah. You know, at which point I was like, whoa, it's actually Sontarans. But the idea of these completely cruel, brutish military obsessives who just wanted to conquer everything that they set foot on, who were something of a kind of a joke in that they kind of parodied that narrow militaristic mindset that fighting is brilliant, that war is all we live for, and there's glory in death and all that sort of thing. The stupidity of it is what they represent. And to see them in tonight's episode coming up with the human equivalent of that actually gave them their origin, you know, it was brilliant. That Lieutenant General, you know, who just couldn't see past his own glory and honor and need for war and everything. And there was that great line from the Doctor, wasn't it? Like when he's going on about, Queen and country is enough. That's what I thought. And what did
Is
she
the
say?
Queen here now?
Yeah,
That was
she's
it.
in
And
there.
he got all offended by it. So
Yeah.
it was great. I think we said it. It's a great one for the Sontarans. Multiverse of Mikeness. Now this is interesting because if you remember, at Iron Mike Wilson didn't really get on very well with Chapter 1 of
Right.
Doctor Who Flux. So was his mind changed? He's put, that's more like it. Kudos to the performances of the Sontaran actors who absolutely shone through what I still think is a hideous redesign. He's almost there. He's not quite. He's not really into it. For what it's worth, Mike, I think the current Sontarans are brilliant, so we can have that conversation next time we do a pod together.
They look very ugly.
Yeah, they do. They're horrible.
Disgusting.
Great makeup.
He goes on to say, Jodie showing what she can do is always welcome. I'm honestly going to miss her, Mandip, and even John Bishop already. He's put unbelievably good special effects, a decent but slightly flawed script, some incredibly intriguing future hints, but a solid episode in its own right that might be a contender for my favourite Sontaran story. Thoroughly enjoyed, but I acknowledge that there's one too many plot conveniences and contrivances. The resolution was slightly rushed. The music is still infuriatingly drowning out dialogue, but there's lots of positives, including every single performance and some jokes that actually did make me chuckle. 8 out of 10, which I think is pretty good. Coming from Mike, given where he was in Chapter 1.
With like the Sontarans, the bit when he's up on the hill thingy and he's being like, well, I did this to like for war and all that stuff, and he goes, and I wanted to ride a horse.
Oh yeah. That was quite funny actually. Yeah, right at the start of it, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, slightly Scottish sounding Sontaran, brilliant.
Makes them more aggressive.
Yeah, it does. Who's put this one? Hoovian at Ryan192203225. One of the best paced Chibnall episodes, thoroughly enjoyed, and the best Sontaran ep since The Time Warrior. Jodie was great. Thumbs up. Nerd Person at Nerdperson5 says definitely one of the best Chibnall era episodes. The Doctor was on top form. The Sontarans were a threat again after 13 years. It'd been that long. Dan and Yaz were on top form. Vinda was interesting. References to links from Time Warrior, absolutely. And the Doctor being president of Gallifrey, all those lovely little nods to the past. And that did actually float my boat when when he I can't remember this Sontaran guy's name actually.
No, I didn't.
Whatever it was.
Yeah, I didn't catch the name.
Sorry, I will know it by next time, promise you. But he did say he did reference links, Commander links from the very first Sontaran's story back in 74, 5, something like that, wasn't it? Crikey. There's loads on here, actually. Kendrick's written some nice stuff. That's at DDP Kendrick. Who's put thoughts. First of all, I really enjoyed it. Thought it was a lot of fun. The Sontarans here are the best they've been in New Who, in my opinion. But I'll be the first one to say that out of the 3 subplots, Yaz, Dan's, and the Doctor's, to me, the other 2 were way more interesting than the Doctor's. They had some epic elements of the Crimean War storyline, and I don't want to say I dislike it, nor would I have cut it out, but out of everything there, it had my least favourite parts of the story. However, everything else was amazing. Dan's plotline was funny and satisfying. Yaz's was great and mystifying. Riley reminded me. Really? Sorry.
That's tech speak for really.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
It's a good job we got young people here to help me with this stuff, isn't it? Really reminded me of the episode Mordrin Undead. Oh, yeah, I never thought of that. From season 20. And the villains were just on top form. Swarm, the Sontarans. Chibnall knows how to write the villains well. I love their lines. I'd also say I did overall enjoy this episode more than part 1. The vision at the start, which is to do with the angels, as you can hear from the sound of the cue, from the sound cue, is very intriguing. And I'm looking forward to what's coming next. That next time trailer looks awesome. And I think part 3 will be my favourite yet. That's quite a few tweets there from Kendrick. There's quite a lot more as well that we got. To be honest, I've only seen a lot of positive stuff from this story. I think it's a really, really good sign that in the 3rd season of Jodie's era, it seems to be now something that people are talking about again in a really, really good way. It's something that people seem to be enjoying.
They're catching up to what we've known all along. We've got James H here at FitGeek_UK who says perfect blend of comedy and the horrors of war, sheer joy from start to cliffhanger. And that, I thought Alataro Medina has said, now where is who corner to corner with the after show discussion?
Oh, well done.
Right
All right, yeah. We are here and we are having it. Yeah.
So we should probably wrap up for this episode. But we will be back next week looking at Once, Upon Time. That's not actually the episode name, it's Once Upon Time. And keep letting us know what you thought of War of the Sontarans. And the same next week when we come back. And thanks for listening. And we will catch you next time.
See you next time, dear listeners.
Thanks, everyone.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Sonta.
I can't remember. He still messes it up. Jesus. Right.